been told I still am. Yes, it may seem a bit bold, but I am.
Welcome home, Cojourners. I'm glad you're here for another episode. I'm Dr. Thema, the facilitator of your journey back home to yourself. I'm a licensed psychologist, ordained minister, and sacred artist, and I'm so glad that you're here on today. I'm going to start with a poem that I wrote recently, actually, and this piece is called Heal the Healers, and I want to acknowledge and affirm that indeed you are a healer. I delight to be in the presence of healers. I love the way you alchemize the matters of your heart. You carry wind with your wings. You have transcendent eyes and medicine words. You are not afraid of deep waters. You are unfamiliar with the shallow end of the pool. I love the way you love. The truth is, you are love embodied, love personified, love activated. Healer, you are a mirror, and I know the glory and gutters of our stories. As much as you show up for others, I see the ways we often put ourselves last. We are dehydrated, and our soul's iron is low. We long for rest, but somehow wake up tired. Our minds are busy, and so are our hands. Tending, befriending, cultivating, creating, dismantling, rebuilding. This is an invitation to still waters, not to visit, but to abide. This is an invitation for slow motion. Yes, slower, slower. This is an invocation of deep belly breath and ascension beyond crisis response. We give abundance and live off scarcity. It's past time for the shift, the pivot, the reversal. It's womb time. Time to be nourished, held, carried. Your life is not a race, and it is so much more than a mission. Your life, our lives, are sacred. Can you learn to be sanctuary for yourself, refuge for your weary soul? Can you choose people and places that choose you instead of tolerating the unacceptable? Joy is chasing you, but you've been running too fast. Release is in your peace. You are made for more than care giving. Have you tried care receiving from yourself and others? Rewrite the script. The old story doesn't have room in it for you to breathe and dance and shout and be silent. The new version is more sustainable. Rise and shine. Rest and simmer, and be born again and again and again. This day is fresh. This season is new, and so are you. Yes, my sacred siblings, so are you. It is time for us to shift, to be born again, born anew, to make new decisions for ourselves, to change the way we look at ourselves, the way we see ourselves, understand ourselves, drive ourselves, appreciate ourselves. It is time for our restoration, not just for a moment or a season, but for it to be our lifestyle, for it to be our mantra, the very rhythm of our lives. And so on today, we want to talk about reducing social comparison. Reducing social comparison. And we often drive ourselves so hard. We are treating life like it is a race or a competition based on us comparing ourselves perpetually, not just to other people, but to other people's curated lives, to the ways in which they present their lives based on our understanding of our real lives. And so I invite you first to take sacred pause and breath with me. The respiratory system, our breathing system, is the only system in the body that we can directly control. And so instead of us going through life holding our breath, breathing from this shallow place that teaches our nervous systems that we are not safe, instead we find our breath and inhale in through the nose and exhale out through the mouth. Choose your breath. Claim your breath. Make the decision to become unhurried. Make the decision that we will not rush and run from event to activity, from the time we wake up, if we even sleep well at night, all the way until we lay down again. But instead, we interrupt this cycle, this pressure, this mindset. And I want you to know the mindset of social comparison did not begin with you. And it did not begin with me. It is a part of our social messaging. Growing up, you were likely compared to siblings or cousins. At school, we were ranked in comparison to our classmates. In dating, we are often put in comparison to other people. In the workforce, there is the idea of the hierarchy of who is better, who is more valued, who is more worthy. And so it makes sense that we have internalized those tendencies and those messages that teach that we are never enough, but perpetually chasing someone else's shadow, trying to live off of somebody else's script, trying to look like someone else. And so we have to purchase all of these products to be enough, that we have to alter the way that we feel and think, even the way that we dress, so that we can be acceptable. And so for our healing and our liberation, we want to interrupt these constant, continuous, perpetual social comparisons so that we can come home to ourselves, so that we can abide in the truth of our own worthiness, so that we can breathe and recognize the fact that we're enough and we always have been enough. So how do we reduce this social comparison? There are a number of strategies to think about. And the first one I would say is to recognize and celebrate your strengths. Many times when we look at other people, we recognize what they're good at. When we look at ourselves, we often focus on our weaknesses, on our limitations, on our growth areas, on the things that need to be improved, the things that we are ashamed of. And we take for granted our strengths. We take for granted our capabilities. We take for granted our own wisdom and knowledge. We look over our own beauty. And so I wonder if even in this moment, you can acknowledge to yourself what some of your strengths are. What are some things that either you have worked on them and now you feel confident about them, or some things that have always come easier for you? Some of our natural gifts we often overlook, and we keep our eyes focused on the things that others are better at. And so I take time to reflect on my strengths, to reflect on my skills, to think about what I do know, to think about the ways that I can applaud and affirm and appreciate myself. And that is not just about doing or achievement, but can I also think of my compassion as a strength? Can I think about my sensitivity or my honesty as a strength? Can I think about the fact that I'm a good friend as a strength? And so not only do we start to pause and reflect on our strengths, but also to have gratitude to ourselves and for ourselves for our progress. Instead of always being hard on myself or upset with myself for the ways that I have fallen short, always looking at others who I somehow measure as being ahead of me, I can appreciate myself for how far I have come. To recognize that there are some things about me that I was working to improve a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And I want to give myself appreciation for the growth that is there. I want to give myself appreciation for the efforts that I have made in order to be who I am today. Not perfect, but evolving. Not perfect, but growing. Not perfect, but definitely making progress. And so I recognize my strengths. I also give myself gratitude and appreciation. And then I would offer to you to reduce your time on social media and or to be careful about who you are following. Think about how you feel when you are on social media and how you feel when you come off of it. Sometimes it is helpful to cleanse our feed or to take a social media fast if I am perpetually looking on there and feeling envious or jealous or insecure about any aspect of my life. If it becomes a way of beating myself up that I don't have this person's accomplishments or this person's money or this person's looks or this person's friendship circle or this person's connections, if that is what my mind goes to when I am on those platforms, then I want to give myself permission to break the addiction, to break the habit of that consuming so much of my time, recognizing that it puts in me an inferiority instead of an affirmation. And then I would also say, in addition to looking at how much time you're spending in those spaces, to consider who are the people, what are the pages that you are following. That there are people who are presenting messages of uplift, and then there are people who are highlighting your sense of inadequacy. And so there may be some people or some pages that you need to unfollow, that if I'm going to be a part of this social experiment called social media, that I want to be intentional about who I am supposedly following. Because what I feed into my spirit, my mind, my heart will affect the way I think about myself, the way I think about relationships, the way I think about accomplishments, the way I think about life. So take some time to reflect, and if needed, if you desire to cleanse or change some of your habits around social media. And then I would say, when we are looking at other people who are somehow successful or who are attaining some things or possess some things that we feel are lacking in our lives, instead of beating ourselves up or feeling intimidated by what I see, allow myself to be inspired by the accomplishments of others. Allow myself to be motivated by the steps that other people are taking. That when I see people have done things that I hope to one day do, instead of saying to myself, it's never going to happen to me, or saying to myself, well, they did it at this age and I'm already older than them and it didn't happen. But instead, that I can look at those stories and find motivation and inspiration to say that it is actually possible. That step by step, season by season, micro goal and micro step toward each step, that I am advancing toward my goals, that I am working toward being the person that I desire to be. And that can truly be a resource, that motivation. And then I would encourage each of us to check our circle, to be in the presence and be in friendship and relationship with people who do not engage in the negative comparison. Those who promote you and lift you up, those who are a source of encouragement, not people who are putting you down or who are undermining you, not fake friends who are really competing with you, not people who insult you or demean you, dehumanize you, disrespect you. Those persons are not your real friends. Those persons are people who are demonstrating a lack of care and a tendency of trying to pull you down and to break you down. But instead to say, I want to be intentional about my circle. I want to be intentional about my friendships, my romantic relationships. I want to choose people who choose to show up with positivity, who choose to show up with affirmation, who choose to believe the truth, which is the sky is big enough for all the stars to shine. The sky is big enough for all the stars to shine. So when I'm in the presence of my real friends, of good people, they are not a part of that monologue that says that I cannot do it. They are not participating in a dialogue that is meant to keep me unstable and insecure. But instead, for each other, we become this chorus of affirmation. We become this chorus of encouragement. We become this chorus of believing in each other's dreams. And so it is possible for us to reduce the social comparison by both shifting our thought process on the inside, shifting our habits with social media, and also shifting our relationships so that they encourage our capacity to grow. And so I invite you in this moment to know that you are worthy of a good life, that you have gifts and skills and the heart that are open to growth and to possibility and to new beginnings, that there is so much before you in addition to all of the progress that is behind you. And so I choose to affirm that we are not stuck. I choose to affirm that there are some great things within us, and for the areas in which we see a need for growth, that growth is possible, that healing is possible, that evolution is possible. And so I see each of you, and I see myself in process. We are not an end result. We are not in our final stage, but instead we know that there is still blooming ahead, growing ahead, thriving ahead. And I do not wait for my full flourishing to appreciate myself and to affirm and recognize my worthiness. I invite your soul to tell your heart, mind, body, and spirit, welcome home.